Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Israeli Frenemies. Today with me, Josh Hasten, the correspondent for JNS News. We have a very busy show like always, so let's get started.
Let's do it. So once again in the news is the Jewish nationality bill, which passed just recently in the Knesset. Specifically, as you saw in the clips, how does this bill affect the minorities in Israel? We're talking about the Druze population in specific of late. And I've seen all the media attention directed towards the Druze community. You had members of the community who are opposed to the bill. You had several of the Druze who serve in the IDF quit their positions. Yet overall, I think that the Druze actually will accept this bill. I saw a post on Facebook from a prominent member of the Druze community saying that we have to embrace this bill because strengthening of the Jewish people in the land of Israel will only benefit the Druze community, where they have it better here than anywhere else in the Middle East. Yariv.
Yeah, I don't think it's only about the Druze. The Druze is just one part of this big thing. This bill that was totally useless and we don't need it. It's just harming the Israeli society from inside. In my opinion, of course, this bill is actually discriminate everyone that are not Jewish. Now, when you are doing it to the Arabs, so some Israelis will say, oh, okay, it's fine. But then when you are doing the same thing for the Jews, Israelis still suddenly feel that it's not really nice and we need to see how we can make them less offended by this bill. And then they are offering some budgets and some other things. This is really ridiculous because this is really the basic of the Israeli society and what Israel is all about. If we are an equal society, so we should be equal to the Druze, the Arabs, to any Jewish and non-Jewish Israeli citizen. But if we are discriminating, so Jewish are number one, class A, Druze may be A minus because they are fighting to be above the Arabs, and the Arabs are going to be class B or C. This is totally unacceptable, and I'm very happy that there are many Jews that are saying, no, it's not just fighting for us. It's fighting for all the minorities in Israel. It's fighting even for the Jewish people that think that this law is the wrong one.
So I've read the bill, and I still can't identify what's discriminatory in the bill. In regard to the Druze, let me tell you what's really happening here amongst that community. An organization called the New Israel Fund, they have gotten involved in the Jewish nationality bill. They oppose the bill, so they are actually taking over the minds of some in the Druze community to try to influence them in order to approach the Prime Minister, the government, and the Knesset in order to say to them, you should oppose this bill, this is bad for the Druze.
I think
the majority of the Druze realize, the New Israel Fund, it's documented.
This is not the way to react to people's pain, you know, and when the Druze are saying that we had enough being citizens class B, and now it's not just our reality, it's also by the law that the Israeli government is treating us differently. To blame the left wing that we are coming to the Druze and explaining to them that they should be angry, this is really unrespectable for the Druze. They are people, they have their own minds, they can make their own decision, they don't need anyone else, and this is not an excuse to hurt them saying, oh, the leftists came to incite you and to ask you to protest against the bill. Give them some credit that this is a very authentic protest of people that are really feel that they are out of the Israeli society.
What I'm saying is I believe the protest is minimal. I don't think it's as big as some people might believe it to be. And I know for a fact that the New Israel Fund, I have the evidence to show it, that the New Israel Fund is involved here in trying to influence the Druze. Again, but I go back to the bill itself.
They're not denying it. They are against it, of course. But the Druze are also against it.
Nowhere, and I don't think the majority are against it, but there's nowhere in the bill that states anything discriminatory towards anybody here in the state of Israel. We've been here for 70 years. It's about time to recognize that this is the Jewish state. We have minorities in Israel, but nothing in the bill says they need to be discriminated against. Now, other bills in Europe are much, much stronger and can be much,
but in Europe
understood as being discriminatory. Country, not here in Israel. It's a very powerful bill.
In any other democratic country, there is one thing that is basic, and this is that everyone are equal. And in this law, the law is actually saying that when we are talking about communities, the Jewish community is the only one that can have self-determination, that can be saying that they are they have their own nationality, and others cannot. And this bill is not saying, Arabs cannot drive on Sunday. No, this bill is basically, it's supposed to be part of the constitution. And then the next step will be, maybe Arab community cannot expand, maybe land will be only for Jewish people, and then when I will say, oh, this is against the equality, this is against democracy, you can come with this bill and say, you see, we are a Jewish state, so we can discriminate. This is the basic legal infrastructure in order to discriminate people that are not Jewish.
By the way, there are certain communities, Bedouin in the Negev, where Jews are not allowed to live. I don't know if you're aware of that. So
that's not
that
exactly
does exist,
true.
but
there
in
are
Europe,
some small communities that
Europe,
the communities can make their own decisions.
There are communities that are Jew-free, Bedouin communities only, and
It's
if
not about
if there was a
Jewish. It's not
Palestinian
about Jewish.
state,
It's
God
about
forbid,
people that were born in the same
That would
place.
be Jew-free as well.
No.
God forbid, if there was a Palestinian state, that would be Jew-free. But my point is, there are many
Settlers
communities in. No Jews would be able to
It's
live
not
there.
about Jews, it's about settlers. And they are ready to accept Jews, by the way. They are not ready to accept settlers. Even if the settlers are Arabs or not Jews, they cannot live there. So it's not exactly about Jewish or not Jewish. But we are talking about the state of Israel, and I think that you can share with me the vision that we would like to be a Jewish and democratic state. So if you are making this bill, at least put the word equality in the bill, and then, it might be better.
I encourage the listeners to look at the text of the bill and see it's not discriminatory in any way, shape, or form. I'd ask the listeners,
So what is
the viewers,
what is
to
the
look
goal of the
at
bill?
the bills
What
in
is
Europe
the goal of the
to
bill?
see how much stricter they are. I learned that in Hawaii, if you are born in Hawaii, you have certain privileges to land that you don't have in other places. In Spain, there is a certain dialect of Spanish that if you don't speak that language, you're breaking the law. That is not anywhere in this bill in any way, shape, or form. This is not in any way discriminatory.
But
That's the bottom line.
So
and the Jews don't have a problem with it. The majority don't have a problem with it.
People in the right wing are saying openly that the reason why they create this law is because the Supreme Court is actually making decision according to equality, and they want to balance the equality issue. So I'm asking you, what is the goal of this bill? If it's okay and it's nothing and everyone are still equal, so why do we need it? We know that the Israeli national anthem is the Israeli national anthem. There is a law for that. We know about the name Israel. We know about the flag. So why do we need this kind of law?
Many people don't even want to stand for a tikva here in this country.
No, but this will not solve the problem.
This law,
and Atikva say Jewish. He mentioned the word Jewish inside. So agree with me that many non-Jewish can maybe respect the national anthem. It's much more difficult to sing it. This week, the Pride Parade is going to be held in Jerusalem, the Israeli capital, but also a very holy city with many Orthodox religious people. And before this parade, there is also a lot of issues regarding the Israeli discourse. One of them, for example, was a letter by 200 rabbis that actually called gay people or the LGBTQ people perverts. And other rabbis are saying, let's please come and demonstrate against this Pride Parade. So first of all, I want to ask you, what do you think? The Pride Parade should be in Jerusalem, or it should be all other places except of Jerusalem?
Yes, I know here in Israel there are Pride Parades almost every weekend in a different city. Not just in Tel Aviv. People don't realize the Kfar Saba, Rehovot, there's a Pride Parade every week. My problem is this: for 364 days a year, the LGBT community, rightfully so, tries to achieve equal status, receive equal rights. Then one day a year, they ruin it. They ruin it for everyone who identifies with their movement, because they come out into the streets and they cause a provocation. And in certain cases, I've seen the images from this year's Tel Aviv Pride Parade, completely inappropriate, whether it's men, whether it's women. I would never imagine if you see such a thing from a heterosexual couple, a homosexual couple. That's my problem. My problem is that all year round, and I believe that they deserve equal rights. But 364 days, you work hard for these equal rights.
First-
Why ruin it on
first
that
of all-
one day? Why
fir-
ruin it for yourselves?
First of all, open the television, see Hollywood movie. You can see heterosexual doing many things in prime time, and it's fine because it's gay or lesbian. Then it's look like maybe more sexual
No, you
for
see
you.
it all these
but
days,
it
trust
should
me.
be normal.
You
no.
see it all.
And I think that the provocation is different. For 364 days, the people that are controlling the public sphere in Jerusalem are usually the Orthodox religious, and this day only is the day that the LGBTQ people can come to Jerusalem, to the Israeli capital, not to the religious neighborhood, not to the holy site, but to do it in West Jerusalem, in places that are more secular, so it will not be a feeling of provocation. And yes, to march and to say we are there. And I want to remind you that 2 years ago, Shira Banki, one of the people that marched in this rally, a teenager, was killed, stabbed and killed by a religious man that spoke about the will of God. And this was an proof why we should have it, because we should fight this a religious radical thinking that these people are against the Torah and they need to be killed. We also had this week an article talking about LGBTQ like they are the enemies of Israel. And I have to tell you, when you see it, when you hear it, when you see the rabbis, many of them are getting salary from the government, you understand that we are far away from reaching equality and acceptance of the society, and therefore we should have this kind of march even in Jerusalem.
Let's be clear. The person who killed a young teenage girl for attending the rally, attending the Pride Parade several years ago, he's not religious, okay? So let's not call him religious. Somebody who carries out murder.
He's calling himself
he can
religious.
call himself
We
whatever
can see
he
the
wants.
pictures.
That's not a religious man. Somebody who kills is not religious. Let's make that clear. On the second hand, there are sensitive locations on all sides of Jerusalem. For example, outside the Great Synagogue, I read an article today that the chief rabbi of Jerusalem asked that the flags not be put up in specific locations outside of two synagogues on King George Street in Jerusalem. So I say, he didn't say don't have the parade, and I don't know if his name is on the list of those who signed the letter or not, but in terms of what I read in today's headlines, he said, do me a favor, don't put up those two flags outside of this synagogue because of those religious sensitivities. So I think he has a point there. I'm not saying the parade should not happen, okay? I'm not saying that at all, but at least respect those sensitivities, but it still goes back to the original point. You deserve equal rights, so
let's talk about that.
let's act in a certain manner all days of the year, and not ruin it. They're ruining for themselves on that day.
I'm not so sure, but I'm happy to hear that you are in favor of equal rights, including, I hope, a marriage, for example, to allow gay people and lesbians to be married in Israel because it's unacceptable according to the law. And we know that the Orthodox religious parties that has a very strong political power are blocking any step in order to promote rights, political rights of gay and lesbians. So march is one thing, but let's talk about the other days that we are not marching or they are not marching, and in these other days they are being discriminated by the law. And I think that this is a major question about what is Israel, whether we are a state that is open, liberal, democratic, or whether we are a state that is acting according to rabbis, that this is the way that they are seeing the Torah.
I'll say the Torah is black and white on the issue. That does not give a person the right to discriminate against, and this certainly isn't a religious person who carried out that horrible act several years ago. The Torah is clear on the issue, it's clear on the matter, and I understand where the rabbis are coming from. That being said, I don't believe anyone should be discriminated against
But
under
maybe
any
it's
circumstance
bigger
here in
than
Israel.
that, in
But
order to allow that.
Respect everybody, including those in Jerusalem who go to that synagogue and don't want this in front of their
But it's bigger
synagogue.
than that. Maybe in order to not to follow the Torah, we should separate the state from the religious aspect. And people that want to get married by religious ceremony, they have the ability to choose for. But people that would like to go to do a civil marriage, they should be able to do it and not to travel outside of Israel like many couples are doing for many years. Because in the Israel, if you are not married by following the Torah rules, so it's not going to be registered anywhere. So you have to go abroad. Agree with me that let's separate state from religious.
The problem is that opens a Pandora's box. If you don't have one authority controlling aspects of religious ceremonies in Israel, it opens it up for anybody to come and say what really actually it affects is the children of those people, because then those children, if they have alternative weddings that are not recognized in the state of Israel, their children could be affected,
But
which is a major problem.
It's going to
it
be
doesn't just affect
recognized
them.
because it's
It
going
doesn't
to be
affect them.
registered.
All right, we're going to try to get through the segment without laughing too hard here, Yariv. But Sacha Baron Cohen is at it again. His latest show in the United States features a character, an Israeli character called Eran Morad, who claims to be an anti-terror expert, says he's in the Mossad, and then turns around and says he isn't in the Mossad. And he has duped many politicians and many VIPs, important people in the U.S., to coming on his program and doing all sorts of ridiculous and crazy shenanigans, including giving guns to children to defend their schools instead of teachers. He's done it again. Perhaps this isn't as funny as Borat or some of the other characters he's portraying, but it does hit home here when we have somebody portraying an Israeli so-called anti-terror expert. I want to know what are your thoughts? Do you think this is funny? Has Eran Morad or Sacha Baron Cohen crossed the line here, finally crossed the line with these stunts?
First of all, I'm happy that he has more accent, an Israeli accent than me, so I feel a bit better. But seriously, I think that it's hilarious. But we have to look deeper, and it's a very problematic situation that shows us in where Israel is today. Because who is Eran Morad? This guy is a very radical one. He has no mercy. He is open to shoot anyone. He showed that we are a nation of a very security people, but not in a good way. And I miss the old Israeli from the kibbutz. I miss the Jewish people that are more, their identity is more close to human rights issue, to universal values, and not for this guy that is security and killing and fighting Arabs, fighting minorities. I think that this is a very bad proof where the image of Israel is going, and maybe it's not just the image.
Yeah, you took it definitely a lot deeper as I'm trying to concentrate watching some of the shenanigans that Eran Morad is pulling behind me.
But look, Eran Morad represents Israel, and he's supporting these lunatics.
Right, but what he actually does is he convinces people to come on and spend time with him in his anti-terror training. He actually dupes people in. We'll see how many lawsuits he gets in the course of the program. The show's still going on here.
But don't you see the connection between him and the image of Israel abroad? Because he represents a bit how Israel considered today. Not a startup nation, not people of farmers, not kibbutz people, but people of security, guns, fighting, making other bad things. It's not a good way to look at Israelis.
And I know true anti-terror experts who actually go to the U.S. and actually help people. Also, I saw a recent clip of an anti-terror expert in South Africa
and
helping the farmers there,
a lot of money.
But also helping the people there defend themselves and defend their property. I don't have any problem with the anti-terror business. I think the show is definitely biased towards, if you're talking about U.S. politics, it definitely tries to dupe Republicans. If you see it percentage-wise, he has many more Republicans that he tricks to coming on the program than he does Democrats. So there's something to be said here.
Of course.
So, there's obviously a bias here. In addition to the humor, I'm not so concerned as much that he's misrepresenting
My problem,
Israel.
by the way, if I was an American, that maybe it's very hilarious and funny, but when you look at the people, these are serious people. Some of them were elected.
Yeah, it's
and they are saying really disturbing things seriously to the camera. It's funny when Borat or Sacha Cohen is next to them, but the substance is very problematic. And the arm weapon industry in Israel, it's not just anti-terror. We are also selling guns and machine guns and many other things, airplanes, whatever, to some very problematic regime. And I think that this is also something that Israel is famous for, and I wish that we will be famous a bit less about that and more about other things, culture, music, art, high-tech, and not things that are related to war and weapons.
Look, I would agree with you to that point, but again, I don't think that's his goal. I don't think that's Sacha Baron Cohen's goal is to make Israel look bad. I think this character...
using the fact that Israel is already looked at that way, and then he create this kind of
But I've seen him in the past. He was actually a guest voice on The Simpsons.
That's true.
Portraying an Israeli tour guide, and very funny. I mean, you could also technically be offended because of that, because he made Israelis look pushy, and he told one woman, he said, "You think you have problems with Canada? Try living here with Syria as your neighbor for 10 minutes. So there is an aspect of comedy here. I hear what you're saying in terms of possibly portraying Israel as all about terror and war and whatnot. We can't overlook the fact that, unfortunately, we've had to fight for our survival each and every day for 70 years.
My question is whether he is joking about the reality or whether he reflects reality. And I afraid that he is in many ways reflect the reality of the state of Israel today, the government of Israel, many strong people in Israel, and also this connection between the right wing in Israel and the right wing in America, including the Trump people and Republican and extreme Republican Tea Party people.
I'm not as worried. Again, I think he has a lot more to worry about, Sacha Baron Cohen, because of the upcoming lawsuit which he's going to face as a result of all these characters. I don't think it does so bad for Israel's public relations efforts.
You don't think that people see him and think, this is the Israel?
I don't think so. I think
Israel?
A lot of people in America support Israel. A majority of people support Israel in America. I think they know what a real Israeli is. I think when they see him handing out weapons to be used for kindergartners to defend their schools, I think people realize that's not the true Israel. And in the other scene where the man dropped his pants and was running around the gym there, I don't think people really look at him and take it seriously. Those who realize and understand that Sacha Baron Cohen is willing to go above anyone else in terms of trying to get a laugh, trying to dupe people into saying what he wants, what he hopes that they're going to say. Unfortunately, a lot of these guys
this kind of,
fall for it.
Serious is a target to young people. And my biggest fear is that the young generation in America, we are coming almost to an end, but have you noticed we didn't speak about Gaza for the first time, I think, for many weeks, but I want to say something about Gaza. My good word is coming to the process around Gaza. There is a chance that there will be some kind of an agreement between Israel, the PLO, and in many ways also Hamas. They are now cooking it, and I wish it will happen for the people that are living next to Gaza, the Israelis, and for the people of Gaza. I think it can bring peace and prosperity to this place.
So I'm going to take this in an entirely different direction. Here in Israel, we've had so far this summer the group Clean Bandit. We've had Alanis Morissette. We've had Ziggy Marley. We've had performers, international stars, Grammy Award winners from around the world come to Israel. And I think this is another BDS fail. Those who hate the state of Israel try to delegitimize the state of Israel on a daily basis. So I want to say thank you very much to those performers, Ziggy Marley, Alanis Morissette, Clean Bandit, and anyone else who comes to Israel, despite I know there's a lot of pressure out there not to arrive here in the state of Israel and play. So thank you to those performers who are willing to come to Israel, do their shows, and they're also appreciative of their Israeli audiences. It's great to see them here.
Josh, it was a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Always a pleasure.
We hope to see you again in our next show of Israeli Frenemies. Goodbye and shalom.